Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Will with Schedulefly, and I'm excited today to have Noah Singerman on the line. Noah is the GM at a completely badass place down in Charleston called Leon's Fine Poultry and Oysters. It's part of a group of three just phenomenally successful, respected, popular restaurants down there. Just a really good group, and Noah's the GM there and took some time out of his day to talk to me and us. So thank you very much, Noah, for doing that.
My pleasure. Happy to.
Yeah, man. All right, so down the time clock back a little bit, man. I always like to find out from folks how and when did you get started in hospitality?
I guess, technically I started in hospitality in high school when I was making sandwiches at a place called Togo's in Northern California. From there, I continued working in restaurants through college, kind of made my way down to Santa Barbara in California and got hooked up with a restaurant called Wine Cask. There, I was able to sort of see the professional side of young adults being in restaurants, and specifically the sommelier world. It was a restaurant that was owned by a winery, one of the biggest wine lists that they had in the area, and I kind of got the wine bug there, looking at all those wines and learning about it. Fast forward, I lived in New York City for over 10 years as a floor sommelier and a beverage director at numerous different restaurants there. And then a couple of years ago, made my way down to Charleston, where I was the sommelier at Husk in downtown Charleston, and I've now been with Leon's for about 3-4 months.
Nice, man. You've made the rounds. You've been some really cool places. I've heard great things about Husk. Hadn't been there, but well, good deal. Okay, so you've been over there for, you said 3 or 4 months now at Leon's?
That's correct.
Tell me about Leon's. Tell our audience about Leon's.
Sure. Leon's is a restaurant that's been open about 4 or 5 years now. It's funny. I've been here about 3 years, and when you walk in, the first time I walked in the door, I said, "Oh, this place must be here for decades." It really feels like a institution in Charleston, and obviously that's on purpose. But I think that the style of restaurant that it is has really endeared itself to Charleston itself. Fine poultry and oysters is exactly right. So known for our fried chicken. Definitely a nice spicy style of fried chicken. We definitely sell a lot of that every single day. We do raw oysters, char-grilled oysters, and baked oysters, plus an oyster roll. So pretty much oysters in all forms. We have 5 kinds of raw oysters every day, and it's definitely one of our most popular items. Our staff is knowledgeable on the different species of oysters, styles, flavors. We always, when in season, feature a couple of local oysters. So those are really great. I think that the oyster programs, the growers, farmers, whatever you want to call them, are in the area have really stepped up their game and are doing some great stuff. We're getting oysters year round now, where in South Carolina, really in the summer, that wasn't possible for many years, but now through a little bit of technology, or at least I might just say knowledge, the oyster growers are able to do that. And so it's really a lot of fun. We recycle our oyster shells. We give them back to the oyster farmers so they can put them back in the water. Essentially, oysters want to grow on other oysters. So doing our part, obviously, by selling a lot of oysters and pulling a lot of oysters out of the water for our needs. So doing our part to get the shells back and have healthy ecosystems.
Okay, dude, I got to ask this now. I've always grown up with, like, don't eat oysters if it's a month without an R in it. So I guess May through August or whatever. So this is new. So tell me about that. What's happened? You said a little bit through technology and a little bit through knowledge. So what's going on? Or was that just like a wives' tale kind of thing? Or what?
It wasn't a wives' tale, but you have to go back a little ways and talk about ice. Before ice, really, yes, correct. You didn't want any oysters that were going to be shipped in any sort of warm temperature. So ice was a really big deal. So obviously the invention of ice, well, we didn't invent ice, the invention of man-made ice, we'll say, is definitely important. And then, knowledge in terms of water. So what has happened specifically in South Carolina is that they are able to sort of submerge and float or suspend their oysters. Where before, if you're talking about, say, wild oysters, which are South Carolina is really known for, their clusters and their blades, what they're called in terms of wild oysters, those are, closer to shore. So in the warmer months, when the tide goes out, those oysters are above water.
They're exposed at low tide.
To warm air.
Yeah.
And obviously that's no good. We don't want to eat those. Oysters, we want to remain at as coldest temperature as possible. So what they're able to do is sort of sink or suspend their cages in the water in order to make it so that the oysters are continuously suspended in water, therefore remaining cold. Then they have, I can't remember the exact time, 1 hour or 2 hours for when they're pulled out to when they have to be in a refrigerated tanker to a refrigerated truck. And so, there's essentially the DHEC specifications on how to do that. And there's really actually only a handful of people in South Carolina doing that. And we're working with a couple of them. One with the Seaborn Oyster Company is doing some really great stuff. And we're proud to work with them. And they're able to have a product year round instead of being as sort of limited and seasonal.
Awesome, man. I love it. Okay. So you've been around wine for a long time. Now you're a GM of a place. You've got oysters, you've got poultry, you've got a lot of good beer, I'm sure, and you got a lot of people and a lot of things going on and a lot of hats to wear. So tell me about that transition you made over the last few months and, why you decided to make that transition and what your, sort of what your expectations were and how that's going.
It's definitely going well. Definitely a lot of hats to wear. I've been beverage focused for almost 15 years, and so I'm excited that I actually still get to retain that. I do run the wine, beer, and cocktail program. I'm looking to make some positive, subtle changes in relation to all of those aspects. So I still get to sort of do the fun stuff, I would say. And then in terms of the rest of the general manager stuff, I have in many ways done a lot of the duties over the years of my career, but definitely not all at once. So, whether that's managerial on the floor, as a floor manager, I've done that. And whether that's, payroll, inventory, as a beverage director, you do a lot with spreadsheets and numbers. So, adding on and what I know about beverage costs, is easy to sort of extrapolate out to food costs. So I can take that knowledge that I have and say, okay, great. Well, now I've got to work with the kitchen and talk about food costs and labor costs, and those all just have to do with checks and balances, essentially, of what the budget is versus what our spending is versus what our sales are, and making sure our numbers are all in line. The good news, Leon's is a busy, popular restaurant, so luckily don't have to worry a lot about numbers in that regard. All we have to do is do the best that we can in terms of hospitality to make sure that we are, garnering regulars. We want to create an environment where Leon's is a community. And obviously, sure, that's good for business, but I think that aside, I think it's good for the community. And whether there's a community of tourists, because we do get, a fair amount of people from out of town. Charleston as a whole gets a lot of people from out of town, and Leon certainly has their fair share too. But I'm really proud as a former patron of Leon's, and now as the general manager, that the locals really love it. I mean, when I tell people I work there, or when I hear other people talk about restaurants, Leon's is always at the top of everybody's list of fun, great, where I always take out of town guests, where we go on a regular basis. I think it covers all the basis of what a restaurant needs to do. And in terms of my learning curve as a general manager, it's definitely been steep, but I had some great support in Brooks Reitz as the owner, as well as the other owners. A great manager team in place that work really hard to have every aspect of Leon's run smoothly, and an amazing staff, a staff that some have been there for many years. And obviously, it's never easy to come in as a sort of new boss and see how people will take to change and how people will take to my suggestions of trying to make Leon's better. I'm a fresh set of eyes, so I've definitely brought in some change, and I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from the staff to say, hey, we understand that Noah's here to make us more money, to make the restaurant better, to do all these things, and I'm looking to really make great subtle changes where if you were a regular at the restaurant, you would not even notice maybe the changes, but maybe there would just be some things that are a little bit more fine-tuned, and that's the ultimate goal is every day to make Leon's the best restaurant it can be.
What outside of being a patron there and already knowing about the restaurant and liking the restaurant, what about the group that you are now a part of attracted you? Tell me about, you mentioned Brooks. Tell me about Brooks, because I have a lot of respect for what he's done. What were your, did you know him already, or did you get to meet him through, how'd that work, and what have you learned from him?
We had met each other through the wine community.
Okay.
There's regular weekly tastings with distributors, and as a local sommelier in town, and as well as a new person in town, I tried to meet the community, the wine and beverage community and restaurant community. And so obviously it doesn't take long to meet Brooks. He is definitely a man about town, and someone who cares passionately about the hospitality industry. And so I think he is such a great resource in Charleston. He gets to know the new people in town, such as myself, and him and I just sort of formed a friendship in a way. And I moved down from New York to open and be a beverage director for a trio of restaurants that has subsequently closed. And so when I was starting the process of looking for work about 3 years ago, he was really one of my first phone calls to say, hey, what's going on? What's up with your restaurants? What's the next project? These kind of things. And at the time, nothing came to fruition, and we just said, hey, let's talk again. We clearly have similar perspectives on hospitality, and so when he I couldn't tell you if I called him, he called me. I think both a few years later and a few months ago. And just said, hey, there's some things in the works going on, and love to talk more. And we, I think came to a great understanding of the project that is Leon's, the job that I'm in, and how to continue to push Leon's to that sort of next level. A restaurant that's 4 or 5 years old, that is very busy and successful and loved by everyone. Those are all great things. But I think what's really important that him and I see eye to eye on is that we don't want that to end there and just say, great, we don't have to do anything now. It's ready to go. It's a constant tweaking and adjusting and observing and how to continue to better the product, the staff, and just the overall sense of community. As a restaurant group, they opened Little Jack's a couple years ago, and now Malthy's a couple months ago, maybe 1 month ago. So they've got 3 restaurants in say 100-yard radius, 200-yard radius. So a little empire on the sort of slightly northern part of downtown Charleston. And I'm so proud to be part of that restaurant group. I think Little Jack's, from their award-winning burger and fun atmosphere, very sort of Frank Sinatra, red sauce joint, checkered tablecloths, to now Malthy's, which I think is really solidified themselves, that they kind of had done that already, but also been a great addition to the restaurant community in Charleston. I think it's doing Italian in a very different way, part authentic and part rock and roll, and I think that was a really I'm really excited as a patron to have that in my mix of places to go and dine at.
Well, you mentioned that you and Brooks have a similar philosophy on hospitality. Tell me what hospitality means to you.
Hospitality means to me, a sense of community and warmth and welcoming. I pride myself on learning as much as I can about anything in restaurants, from food to beverage, wine, service, how to properly bus a table, and so I can utilize those things as tools to make people feel comfortable. Brooks and I want people to come into our restaurants and be just completely taken care of.
Yeah.
And that can mean so many different things to different people. So I think that hospitality is a combination of that community and warmth and being brought in, but then also being able to read what that person what kind of experience that person wants. So I think hospitality has to be fluid as well. I think, and so that fluidity allows for many different types of experience for the guests. Leon's is a perfect example of, some people come in, they want their fried chicken, they get it once a week, and 1 beer, and they want to sit at the bar, in the door, out the door, and that is their ideal experience of Leon's. Someone else walks in the door and they're from out of town and they want a bottle of grower champagne. Proud to say I think we have one of the best grower champagne lists in town, and they want to have multiple courses, and they want to hear all the stories about the sea cloud oysters and the suspended oysters, and why we're serving oysters in an hour a month, and really dive deep into the server's knowledge and what Leon's can offer. And so those two experiences in some ways are polar opposites. But I think hospitality, Brooks and I's perspective of hospitality says, well, we want them all, and we want to show them all a good time. There's no one right or wrong way. And I think the last thing about hospitality is consistency. Restaurants is a stage. You are on stage when you're there, and so
Yeah.
having that energy, that fun, that aspect of sort of welcoming and warmth. I mean, that has to be there every day, and so we preach that to our staff. It's like, look, if you're having a bad day, you've got to check it at the door and come in and show these people a great time. And luckily, I think we have a staff that is so good at it that they don't that it comes second nature. And that's what Leon's is all about bringing in warmth and community, acceptance on all types of experiences guests are looking for, and then consistency.
Love it, man. Love it. I mean, when you talk about your staff, I always think about getting people bought into that and truly executing on that every day. It's no easy task. You've got a lot of, Charleston's just got an incredible restaurant scene. So with that brings a lot of competition, I know, which probably is a good, healthy thing that keeps you on your toes. But then does that also mean there's a lot of folks that work in the industry down there that are just really good at what they do and are kind of bought into that same level of what you just expressed hospitality means?
I think there are. I think that I'm sure in cities across the country, from back of house to front of house, there's a kind of a consensus of difficulty at finding quality people. Leon's, but we'll just use actually Charleston as a whole. I do think Charleston as a whole has a great core group of people that are passionate about food and beverage and passionate about restaurants and hospitality, and they really buy into that every day. And so coming from Husk and now Leon's, and seeing the rest of the restaurant groups, restaurants in my current group, I think that we as a group of restaurants really showcases that to the outside public, and I think therefore the people that come in to apply to work with us understand what they're kind of getting involved with. And we have a very high standard, and we work through a training program. We try to hire all servers as server assistants first, so that we can kind of groom them and show them our culture and our style of hospitality, and before they're sort of promoted up to servers. And I think that sort of training ground is imperative for people to buy into, and then that way we're able to see someone's work ethic, see someone's skill, see what needs they need, such as whether that's beverage education or service technique updates or training and things like that. So I think really just trying to find that balance of people that are excited and energetic to learn, as well as come with past experiences and skill sets.
Got it, man. Love it. What is the most challenging thing about what you do?
Most challenging thing about my job is, I would say, managing people. I mean, everybody has their lives outside of work, and work is just that. It's a part of their life. It's not their whole life. And I think that they all come with different backgrounds, and being able to talk to them, to hear their either frustrations with work or outside of work. I want to get the most out of everybody, and so that means having to have serious conversations about people's lives, lifestyles, issues, complications. A restaurant is a family, and it's definitely you've got to deal with kind of all the family members, good and
right.
bad.
Yeah.
And so I think that the amount of times that I kind of have sit downs with people, and a lot of them are positive. Hey, you're doing a great job. A lot of them are, hey, we think you could work on these things, or they come to me and it's, oh, I have this going on outside of work. I have whether that's family issues, financial issues, health issues, all the above. So the family is the most accurate description for that. And in a family, you have all those things that people constantly have to work with. And I'd say for me, with Leon's being as busy as it is, it's kind of like things are constantly coming at me in a great way, and having those personal relationships help me as a manager, help me as a person, in my own life, and how to continue to better myself. And so that is definitely difficult, but I think that my goal is to listen to my staff and say, okay, how can we help you? And whether that's, again, can we help you personally? Can we help you, financially? Can we help you in your health? Or can we help you in your career, and whether that's a restaurant career or whether that's an outside career.
Yeah, man. Well, as you said, you have a lot of things coming at you. There really isn't. I mean, it's kind of it's just nonstop. How do you find no? I always wonder this, like in a place like Leon's, the amount that you have coming at you, the number of people that are involved there, just as busy as it stays year round. How do you find, some sort of balance with, your career and then your personal life? And I always wonder that. It just seems like a tricky balance to strike.
It certainly is. My wife might be able to answer that question better than I can. Restaurants are sort of an all-encompassing aspect of my life in some ways. I eat out at restaurants when I'm not working in them. I cook when I'm at home. So food and beverage are, definitely constants in my life. And I think it's important to just, check out when you're not at work and say, okay, I'm going to, put my phone down. I'm going to not, check in on anything. I think, and whether that's for, a small period of time or a long period of time. Maybe you go on, when I go on vacation, I try to kind of check out, or maybe it's just, during dinner, my wife and I put our phones away and say, okay, we're going to sit here for an hour and we're going to talk to each other, and we're going to, not worry about what's going on at our professional lives. And so it's a constant, I don't like the word struggle, but it's a constant, it's a constant thing you have to, be conscious of. Let's say it that way. 'Cause struggle sounds so negative, but you just have to be conscious of it. And I'm conscious of it regularly. So I, make sure that I'm exercising. I like to run and swim and those kind of things. And so I think that helps me clear my head and step away from work for a period of time. And spending time with family and friends, and just say, hey, it's important to have those things. My days off, I try not to go into work unless it's necessary, and sometimes it is.
Well, look, man, you have a passion for what you do, and you say struggle, and I hear what look, you love what you do, and that's a great thing. I can tell that. It comes out very naturally, and hey, that's a good thing. I mean, I think about our business all the time, and I don't mind that. I mean, I have a wife, I have 3 kids, and I have plenty of time with my family and my friends and so forth. But I don't mind that my brain often drifts to what's happening with Schedule Fly and what can I do to make to make it even better. And that's a good thing if you're doing something you really enjoy and you care about it, and you clearly do. So I think that's great, man. I really enjoy talking to you, and I've learned a lot from you, and I very much appreciate you taking the time to do this, especially I know you're home right now, and just love what y'all are doing, man. You guys are doing great work down there. You've got a phenomenal reputation. I'm in Charlotte, but I'm down around Charleston every now and again, and I have not been to Leon's. I've heard lots of great things about it, so I'm going to make my way down there soon and check in with you guys and hang out a little bit.
Sounds good. My pleasure. We would love to have you. So when you're in town, please let us know, and we'll take good care of you.
All right, man. Hey, Noah, thanks. Have a good one. Y'all have a good rest of the week. Do some great business. Have some fun. And if I can ever do anything for you, man, you know where I'm at.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, take care.
Great. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, see you.